Hello, guys, and welcome to another Computer Business Breakthrough interview. Today we have Luke Coughey. He is the owner of Recovery Force, a data recovery lab, and he's going to talk to us about, how he made the transition from, regular computer repair into focusing solely on the niche of data recovery. How you doing, Luke? Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Sorry, doing great today.
Good. So we wanted to start off just kind of get an idea of where you came from. So what is your background, and take us up to the point where you started running your computer business and thinking about the time, that you wanted to maybe start niching into data recovery.
Well, I went to University of New Brunswick here in Canada doing computer science, and in my third year of computer science, decided that perhaps it wasn't for me, more gifted in break-fix troubleshooting. So I started into a computer service and repair company with my father, and we fixed computers. And we tried to avoid selling computers. We saw that sales was on its way out. Tried to just be a complete service repair shop.
About what year was that?
That would have been somewhere around 1996.
Wow.
We got into that. And over the coming years, couple years, we had a good relationship with another computer shop who my father actually got in discussions with, and they heard about a software data recovery program that NASA used, and they wanted to buy it. So my father went halves with the guy on it. And they bought this program. Just worked out that the other guy couldn't figure out how to use it. My father wasn't sure how to use it, but he managed to get lucky and recover a couple jobs. So he became the data recovery guy when this other guy's technician screwed up. Okay. Sadly, that was what actually happened. They were removing a virus from a client's computer, and all of a sudden the data just completely disappeared. When the technicians are freaking out, and he came back and said, "Oh, no problem, Doug can get that back for you." And so my father sort of said, "Well, I don't know, give it a try," and got lucky, and they did it again 2 days later, and he got lucky and did it again. Wasn't really sure what he did, but he got it. So we started exploring into data recovery, and we quickly learned as computer technicians that we wanted to always back up a drive, clone it before we started servicing it, because we got tired of having to recover data from a drive that came in with data on it. And sort of cover our behinds at that point. So that was probably 97, 98. So data recovery was sort of something we were toying with. By about 2000, we started, we were doing what I like to refer to as level 1 recoveries, where a lot of technicians today still do the logical deleted files, a few bad sectors here and there, and stuff that they could handle with software. But we were trying to find partners with labs, big labs, who could do the work that we couldn't handle. So we actually built a reputation. Our service company back in the day, Double C Computers in New Brunswick, had a reputation in Atlantic Canada as being the data recovery place there. But again, we only did a certain section of it and outsourced what we couldn't handle. And we had some partners sort of discuss with us, and by about 2001, we sort of started a second branch, or split off the company from computer service and repair. We started a new company called Recovery Force. So then we had two companies, and during that transition of the dropping of the extra data recovery revenues from the service company started failing miserably. So we said, sayonara. And 2003, we relocated the company to where we are now in Guelph, Ontario, Canada, where even at that point, my involvement with the data recovery was, to say the least, only out of necessity. I was trying to fight, saying, we can't do this. This is too complex for us. It's it's one thing to be able to run software on a hard drive, but then to actually open it up, change heads, and do all that other stuff is just way beyond anything I can understand. But to my surprise and amazement, over the next few years, we started evolving even further into what we do. And perhaps at the right time, I can go into even further on that if you want. But that's sort of how we evolved into the data recovery side of things from the service side. But even at that point, recovery force coming in, we were still dealing with the minors and not the majors.
Gotcha.
We really wanted to work with the major labs who could do the head changes, so the on-tracks, the CBLs, the drive savers, those types of guys. And back in the day, Action Front, which is now bought by Seagate, we were trying to just say, hey, we'll outsource what we can to you, and what we want to do is make sure our clients get the best service for the best price. What we wanted was to be able to call these labs, say, here's scenario A, this is what the drive is doing. How do you want us to approach it, and so that we can get the best chance of recovery? And here's our client's budget. So a lot of times our clients would come back and say, anything over $1,000, forget it. In fact, sometimes they're saying $500, forget it. So we call the lab and say, here's the scenario. And they say, oh, just send it along. We'll take a look. And then they were coming back and quoting us $3,000. Yeah. Wasting a lot of my money on shipping. So it got to a point where I had some parts drives sitting around, and I had a client who had a drive to be recovered. And when we said, we always pre-qualify to make sure that it was worth sending to the lab. They said, no, it's absolutely not worth spending. I won't no more than $1,000. Talked to the lab and said, we won't do it for less than $2,000. So I was like, well, what do we do? And the client says, well, can you give it a try? So having nothing to lose, we said, well, if you're willing to spend $1,000, I'll give it a try. Yeah. So I practiced that on a few parts drives and got my technique and skill set down, and gave it a whirl. And to my amazement, we got, I'd say, probably 99% of the data off that drive.
Wow.
Nice.
And this was no clean room. This was in the basement of a house. It was like everything that you're supposed to not do. It worked. I was like, wow. So I got lucky there.
That probably gave you kind of the confidence
that exactly. So even at that point, it was probably about a year or two of these types of scenarios where we were saying, the client completely would turn down, or the lab would say we'd actually send it to the lab would quote, it would come back, the client would say, well, can you try something? It's like, well, again, got nothing to lose. And then we started getting purchasing equipment. We actually, one of our first hardware recovery systems was a deep spire imager. We're starting to see more of that in the computer service world, more with their new rapid spire units. But just even having that deep spire imager blew our minds away that there was technology out there to make life easier for us. It was a tough call, because at that point it was like $3,000 or $4,000 from a company we'd never heard of. They called us up and said, hey, want to try this piece of equipment? And we're like, who are you? And they're saying, they tried to explain it, and we said, well, you come down and show it to us and we might consider it. And they said, no, you come to us. And we're like, I'm not driving, it was like 5 hours away. I'm not driving there, so forget it. You guys are, we sort of pushed them off a few times of their sales call. And then finally, one of their sales guys called and said, well, do you have a job that you're working on now? And we had a drive that we were trying to image. And if you guys have ever experienced fighting with DD Rescue, this was before DD Rescue existed, and it was a program that a lot of data recovery guys used before there was a hardware imager option. And we were imaging a drive for probably a week, and we were a few % of the way in, knowing that it was going to take forever. And so we sort of chuckled to ourselves and said, we'll send them this. And we sent it. They received it in the morning. They confirmed that they had it completely imaged before the afternoon, and sent it back to us. we made the order for the unit the next day, and
We're sold.
we're sold. So we've purchased many of those units since.
Wow.
Expanded into more complex units like the PC3000 stuff. But it's an evolution of investment. But as we've invested, we've sort of self-trained ourselves on things to the point now where it's been years. We sometimes will still send the odd job, maybe 1 or 2 a year on those really weird, slim chance to none type of projects where we know that, like the CBLs or the on-tracks, those types of guys may have a few extra resources up their sleeves to increase the chances.
Probably, super expensive for the client.
Well, it certainly falls outside of our pricing scheme because we have our own flat rate pricing. We're kind of stuck with it. So for us to do it in-house, we would actually lose money on it. So
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah, so that's a great story, and
yeah, it is.
one. The big takeaway I get from it is that this was a very gradual transition from where you are today to where you started in the computer services business, and there were many milestones. Starting Recovery Force like on the side, then eventually quitting the services business and focusing on that full time. But still partnering with outside, recovery labs, eventually taking a lot of that stuff in-house, investing in the equipment and growing that portion. And so, people who would look at a business like yours and say, there's no way I could build a business like that because he's got all this expensive equipment. He's very specialized. He must have, gone to school for this and learned this. And, really, it's from what it sounds like, it's something you kind of taught yourself through trial and error, through just figuring it out and giving it a shot over time, and eventually you just grew and got to where you are today.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's there really is no official certification. So there's one guy who offers a course, and he gives a person a slip saying they're certified data recovery professional. So you've got a bunch of data recovery guys out there who have these certificates, but they're no labs like mine would hire them because of their certificate. Let's just say that. Exactly.
Anybody can make a cert any these days. So
right,
it's
all hands-on experience.
It's like saying, I got my A+, so now I'm a wise technician guru, and experience will beat you every day.
Yeah, I deal with that too. People ask me if I'm certified. I go, no, but I got 16 years of street experience. Yeah. Beat that.
Yeah. I'm certified by all the happy clients that I have.
Exactly.
You can ask them.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, this is an industry that there's hard drive manufacturers don't provide, you can't go buy a set of heads, you can't go buy a component here or there. And how they design the hard drive is something that they don't release. Mm-hmm. So the only way to recover the data from a drive is for somebody to reverse engineer that hard drive and make it, figure things out so then how to fix things. With us, we're fortunate in a sense to come into the game when there is products like PC3000, these albeit expensive $10,000, $20,000 tools, they're there. But for me to spend $10,000 on a tool and have the resource of their engineer team reverse engineering hard drives day in and day out is a heck of a lot cheaper than me hiring an engineer who works for me full time to reverse engineer stuff as it comes. Mm-hmm. Because if they did it that way, the time to recover the data will be forever. And the cost of that person is way too high. So there are some labs out there, I believe, larger labs, particularly like Drive Savers and Gilware, OnTrack. These guys have their own in-house engineers, but they still use PCs for thousands. They all have those, as far as best of my knowledge, deep Sparemagers. But they do have some in-house guys who can then expand on those areas that these other tools may not produce. So they may have some extra areas that smaller companies like myself may not have.
Yeah. But
in the grand scheme of things, it's a small percentage of jobs that they may be able to handle more than what other labs like ourselves can't. However, we, and I've talked to many other smaller labs, have received jobs that these other labs have called unrecoverable, that we are able to recover for far less than what they normally charge. It's one of those probably cost analysis. They look at it's too expensive for them to to recover because of all their engineering time needed. But they don't see the forest from the trees, and they don't. It's more simple than that. So
in order to afford some of the more expensive equipment and stuff that you're using, you of course need a good steady flow of clients. So what have you done to market your business, or what do you attribute to the success of being able to get a steady flow of continual clients coming to you?
As far as getting a steady flow, it's been an ongoing thing. One of the reasons we ended up relocating from New Brunswick to Ontario is that in the city that we were at, it's about 80,000 people in the city, but multiple provinces. You got a small footprint of people, so majority of people would have to ship, which makes it harder to get your name known if they're that far away. Here, within the area that we're in, we've got close to 1 million people, and if you go with within a half-hour drive, we've got probably 6 million people. So it makes a big difference because we're in a more of a walk-in traffic area. Yet still, I'd say probably 75% of our work is still shipped to us.
Wow.
And mostly from web presence. My Google ads, I've actually limited to just my local area, just because I don't want to pay through the nose. I mean, they're pretty competitive on it. Some people are paying like $50, $60 a click.
Wow.
Yeah, I can imagine.
How's
the SEO on the website?
Website locally is really doing quite well. As we expand out, it's sort of hit and miss on keywords. It's something we're constantly working on. It seems like every time you take 2 steps forward, Google takes and changes something, and then taking 2 steps back.
Yeah.
Just recently, we changed our website from standard to HTTPS, the secure SSL, and it seems to be transitioning with Google okay, but some of the other ranking things to sort of measure have gone all wonky on us. So if you look at our Alexa ranking, we've plummeted huge, but it's just one of those time things. So for us, most of it is we most of our work online comes via Google, but we as in me, I tend to do most of it is get involved with forums, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever venue where I see there's an opportunity to have discussion, I try to get involved.
Yeah, that's been something that a lot of the folks we've interviewed in these interviews have done to great success, is to get involved in the community, to be a member of the community and not be selling, but just, answer questions, be involved. And that's a great way to raise awareness.
I went further and actually created my a forum on our website, which hasn't really taken off too much, but we do get the occasional question from people and try to answer. It's sort of a double purpose forum. One is, we want to be able to answer questions for people when they have the questions. But the other is that every word that's entered in the forum as a sub part of our domain is a keyword that will eventually come to us. So we even if it's
that's a good idea.
If you search Google data recovery forums, we're like not number 1, we're usually 2 or 3 in the search. So
that's something that a lot of people don't consider for SEO, is to start a forum and you can get some people on there asking questions. Those are the same questions that people are going to be searching for in the search engines.
Exactly. So it's to me, I mean, if it stays dead, that's okay. I can live with that, because it's I spend a lot of time having to remove a bunch of garbage, but it is what it is. And like I say, we've also gone further. And one of the challenges for us when we were dealing with other labs is that you'd call and their response was, put it in a box and ship it to us. They didn't want to share any information. They did not want, basically, you're stupid, we're smart, send it to us. we're going to charge you for it. And even for us, we're getting a lot of service companies, when we approach them, they have that same, they've been abused by the labs for so long,
right,
that it's been a challenge for us to get in front of them because they're used to the same story. But our toll-free number works anywhere in North America, so we encourage people, a technician, when they run into a situation, so if they're in front of a server with a RAID and multiple hard drives and they're scratching their head, and Dell Tech Support says, yeah, just start swapping drives out or try this. Before they do that, if the data is not accessible, give us a call and run down the scenario, because odds are we've already seen that scenario, and we've seen it a couple ways. One, where it goes really bad and the data is totally unrecoverable by the time it does get to us, or other scenarios where we're able to talk somebody through and give them advice on how to recover without needing our services.
So you differentiate yourself by providing that kind of support to the end user, instead of, just ship us the drive and we'll fix it for you. You kind of walk them through the different scenarios and try to help them process.
Exactly. Particularly for us, it's more we want to help the resellers than the actual end user.
Right.
The idea is that technicians are capable of doing stuff. So our idea is that we want to help them do what they can do, but avoid them making it worse. I usually get in a lot of trouble on forums because the first question I ask people is, did you clone the drive? And Lisa can attest that on TechNimble,
I've seen you say that often.
Yeah, and some technicians tend not like that because
they didn't.
They either didn't, or they just assume that we know they did. But for me, it's a simple question to ask, and sadly, it tends to be the last thing that technicians think about. So my goal is to try to protect. The idea is the client's data is the only thing you cannot replace on a computer. You can replace any other thing on that computer, but you cannot replace their data. And I've seen over the years way too many clients who are taking a relatively healthy computer to a service guy and coming back to me after that service guy has lost their data, and because of just cutting a few corners or not being aware. So sometimes, like I say, I become a kind of repetitive, which for people who keep hearing it, get frustrated with, but it's for the new people who aren't aware that I want to make them aware. And,
sometimes you got to drill that stuff into people before they totally comprehend it or start using it.
Yeah, so it's I was there. I was a technician. I had to learn the hard way myself. I've tried to help people not learn the hard way, learn from my experience, but you can only do so much.
Right.
Oh yeah. So, look, I got a couple more questions for you. So, you started the business in '96. What year did you guys totally drop out of the service of computers and only focus on this?
Well, Recovery Force started in 2001, so we had a bit of overlap for probably about a year. So it was around 2002 that we dropped the service in, and like I said, in 2003 we relocated to Ontario.
Yeah. That makes a smart move with your location there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm looking at the questions here. I think you kind of answered them all in the storytelling and everything. Do you see any missing ones, Matt?
I'm curious, what percentage of your clients are end users versus computer technician?
I would say probably it's sort of hit and miss on a daily basis.
Right.
I would say we're probably about 70% are what I refer to as resellers.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Technicians or
what they're sending you their clients.
Yeah, exactly. We do get a fair amount of walk-in from local Apple store and stuff like that. They'll just refer clients, so people just show up at our door.
Nice. So another question: how do you feel it's easier to market or to run a business when you focus on a niche as opposed to when you were just doing general computer service? Because to me, when I started focusing on a particular niche in technology, it became a lot easier to focus my marketing because I knew exactly what to tell people I did, exactly how to pitch it, instead of saying, oh, we can kind of cover everything, just come to us. Have you noticed that as well?
Well, there's pros and cons with the general technician, for lack of better terms. You had a wider base, so there's you go out the door, there's millions of clients for you per se, depending on what your area is. But when we focus on data recovery, the number of clients sort of has dropped. Though the great thing about data recovery per se is that everybody has some sort of device that holds data, and I could almost guarantee that everybody you know or talk to has either lost data or knows somebody close by that has.
Yeah.
So it's something that happens frequently enough. From the niche side, there is some pros on that, getting it out to people and stuff and getting that work in. But the problem with data recovery, I think, is that it's sometimes difficult for people to understand until they actually need it.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing is that the end user who loses their data automatically assumes that their technician, whether it's the computer science kid up the hall or their nephew or whatever, the computer shop, because they're computer people, they know data recovery.
Right.
And
so they'll go to them first.
They'll always go to them first. So that's why I think when we make calls to try to get new business, our main focus has always been on the service guy, because one service technician is likely to have multiple data recovery requests come to them, where going to an individual, they're limited to whatever they have.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that makes sense as to why you would focus on the resellers, as you say, because those guys understand the need. They can kind of vet the clients also, so they're like that filter, so they know, is it something you guys can take care of, or is it not even a data recovery issue? It's something that they just misplaced their file or something, and that way you don't have to even worry about that. I've really tried to work with the resellers to be a part of their team. Now, sometimes, like I say, because of their history of how they've worked out with other companies, there's been some confusion. Data recovery is always expensive as far as they're concerned. It's a bit of a challenge, because there's some education that takes involved to let them understand what they can and can't do, or should or shouldn't do, and how we work. We want to work with them, not fight against them. But because of our desire to work with resellers, has kept us. I mean, we have people all the time bring in their computer, they bring in the entire system, and they want the data recovered, and they want the hard drive replaced, and they want their Windows installed, they want this and this. And I just tell them, we as quick as we can, get the hard drive out and hand them their computer back. We don't want to get into the break. I got away from that years ago, and I don't want to go back. But also, I don't want to compete with my clients. The resellers. Now, I only wish it was the other way around, but right.
They don't want to say anything they don't have to me, and I understand. But it's sort of that, I'm not trying to step on their toes and hoping that they won't step on mine. But
yeah, that makes sense. So in this program that we're doing, Computer Business Breakthrough, we're encouraging computer repair, break fix business owners to find a niche, focus on that, and grow their business that way. So a lot of them are probably going to be looking to maybe offload some data recovery tasks that they might have been handling previously. So if they're interested in maybe partnering with you or finding out more information about what you do, how can they contact you?
They can just contact me either through the Recovery Force website, recoveryforce.com, and they can just call the number and ask for me, Luke, and I'd be more than happy to share information there. I'm almost always available via Skype. It's funny the word made of me today, with my first initial on my last name, so LCOUGHEY. That's my high-tech secret identifier. I chat with computer service technicians. I'm actually do my best to try to help guys out. I had a data recovery guy who's fairly new in the business. Just yesterday, ran into an issue he didn't know how to deal with. Remoted in, used his own software, showed him where he was going wrong, and his response was, "How much?" I said, "Sing my praises and have a good day." To the most part, I try to help people out for nothing. I'm not one who believes in karma, but the idea of past be good and people come back to you the same way.
Yep.
But there are times when there's value to my assistance, but I usually leave it on the end of the receiver to decide on that. But I'm love to answer questions through my forums, which is again linked on my website. Sure. There's all sorts of other forums out there that I'm involved with too.
It sounds like you got a good business that is customer service centric and not just a lab that you ship stuff to and you get a report.
Exactly.
No, yeah.
We do our best. There's always the rough, tough cases that take forever. Just finished a job yesterday that started in, we received it on Christmas Eve, so it was a long go.
Wow.
We got, I think, if not 100% of the data, it was like almost all of it. I think it might have been 2 files were bad. But
wow, I had a 3-week Outlook PST repair once. It was brutal.
Yeah.
And I tell people that's just for a little 20 gig file. It takes a long time to fix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just did we just finishing up a recovery on a PST file where somebody had run check disk enough times that the PST file showed as 0 megs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, look, I'm actually going to contact you after this because I had a client that we couldn't. It was corrupted, and I think it needed to be fixed by a company. So we're just sitting on that. I'll talk to you about it.
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks,
Great.
Luke.
Thank you, Luke. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being on, and we'll see everybody in the next Computer Business Breakthrough video.
Yep. See you guys. Thanks.
Take care.